بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Today we're looking at the chapter of Shaykh al-Islam rahimahullah, the author. He says, chapter Allah saying, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَتَّخِذُ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنْدَادًا يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ. And of mankind are some who take for worship others besides Allah as rivals to Allah. They love Him as they love Allah. Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 165. And Allah saying, قُلْ إِنْ كَانَ آبَاؤُكُمْ وَأَبْنَاؤُكُمْ وَإِخْوَانُكُمْ وَأَزْوَاجُكُمْ وَعَشِيرَتُكُمْ وَأَمْوَالٌ اقْتَرَفْتُمُوهَا وَتِجَارَةٌ تَخْشَوْنَ كَسَادَهَا وَمَسَاكِنُ تَرْضَوْنَهَا أَحَبَّ إِلَيْكُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَجِهَادٍ فِي سَبِيلِهِ فَتَرَبَّصُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الْفَاسِقِينَ. Say, if your fathers, your sons, your brothers, your wives, your kindred, the wealth that you have gained, the commerce in which you fear decline, and the dwellings in which you delight, are dearer to you than Allah and His Messenger, and striving hard and fighting His cause, and wait until Allah brings about His decision, His torment. Surah Tawbah, ayah 24. So here in this chapter we're discussing the issue of mahabbah, love, in relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that type of mahabbah, love, which is necessary for a believer to have in relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then there are other types of mahabbah, love, which are impermissible, and some which are permissible, and some which are recommended, and like this. And so in reality, this subject is important because we know somebody's love for something is part of his belief and his worship. If someone doesn't love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it's not considered the true believer or the believer. You have to love Allah. The same way you're not allowed to love those whom Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us we're not supposed to love. So love is important, and because it's hard to control at times, we need to be wary of what types of love we're not allowed to have, and more importantly, what's the love that the believers are supposed to have in relation to their Lord and to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this religion. So Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he says, the author rahimahullah made the verse a chapter heading, and it's possible to take that to imply the heading is love. He's talking about love, and the basis of all deeds is love. And this is why it's important. Man only acts to seek what he loves, either to attain particular benefit or put away harm. So if he does anything, it's because he loves it, either for its essence, such as food, or for a benefit connected to it, like medicine. So that's why this subject is important. Love is so important. We essentially act in accordance to it. And when it comes to worship, we know, in order for somebody to worship Allah, what does he have to have? If you remember from our lesson before, we mentioned that ibadah, it has three things that needs to be there. Anyone remembers? Khushu' or khudu', some humiliation, submissiveness. What else? Raja is there, but we said that when it comes to ibadah, three things you need to have in there. So, ikhlas, yes, but in particular for ibadah, for someone to have the ibadah, he needs to have in there khudu' or tadallul, humiliation and submissiveness to Allah, and ta'zeem, veneration for that which he's worshipping. This guy always a ta'zeem for Allah. And the last one we said mahabba, you have love. And that's what the Shaykh says here, when it comes to worshipping Allah, it's built on love, mahabba. In fact, that is the essence of ibadah. So mahabba is the essence of ibadah, in that it must be there. It must be there. You must love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as you humiliate yourself for Him. Tadallul, at-ta'zeem, and mahabba. And then for the arkan, for the amal to be maqbool, al-ikhlas wal-mutaba'ah. And also we have to worship Allah being the khawf al-raja, between hope and fear. So mahabba is so important, it's built in the essence of ibadah. Worshipping Allah is built on love. In fact, it's the essence of worship. Since if you worship without love, your servitude will be tantamount to a body without spirit. Like a jasad bidun ruh. There's no real core to it. And if an individual has Allah's love and an attainment of His paradise in his heart, he will follow the path that leads to it. That's why when the polytheists, the mushrikun, loved their deities, that love made them worship them besides Allah. So that's why, if you look at the polytheists, they love their idols. That's why they worship them. So the ayah begins, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَتَّخِذُ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنْدَادًا يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ. They love them like how they love Allah. The Shaykh mentions here that love is divided into two types. Mahabba can be divided into two major types. One is love of worship. So mahabba, that is ibadah. And this one is the one where you have to have tadallul, humiliation, servitude to Allah, and ta'zeem, the love of worship. So when you worship Allah, you're worshiping Allah based on love, but in there is humiliation and veneration. Tadallul and ta'zeem. If you don't have that, you're not really worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we can see it, it's built in the ibadat. وإن the salah, سبحان ربي الأعلى, سبحان ربي العظيم, already making ta'zeem in the adhkar. And tadallul, you go in sujood. Lillahi subhanahu, fasjudu lillahi wa'budu. Allah says, make sujood to Allah only. Ruku', that's how we know you can't do that for other people. You can't bow to other people. You can't prostrate to them. Why? This is type of humiliation. Lillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this one is what is only for Allah. And that's why you have to be careful. If someone has these type of qualities directed to someone else besides Allah, it's shirk. Shirk fil mahabba. Shirk by way of love. And this should be exclusive for Allah. Whoever loves other than Allah along with Him by way of worship, then it's committed major shirk. The scholars refer to that as special love. Special love belongs to Allah. Then there is a second division, second type, which is all the different types of love that somebody could possibly have. And they are divided depending on the type of love. So example, he's going to mention, but before we get there, the second type is that which is love without worship. So love, which is not essentially worship. First type, loving because Allah, or love something, or the cause for the sake of Allah. That's a very good love, right? One that someone's supposed to have. Like you love the Salihin, the messengers, the Rasul, the Anbiya, Rusul. We love Salah, prayers, zakat, good deeds. This is a love for the sake of Allah. If Allah loves it, you love it. So that's what we say, fi sabilillah, for Allah's sake. The second type of love is that of compassion and mercy. Like love you have towards a child. You want to teach them. You see them, they're going to get hurt. You stop them. You discipline them. You have for the young ones, for children, for the weak. This is the type of love. Third type, love out of reverence and respect and veneration. Like how you love your father, or you love your teacher, or you love someone from the Salihin. This is by way of respect and veneration for them. Again, not worship, but you respect them. It's not the same as love you have for the child, right? Another type, fourth love, natural love. Like food, drink, clothing, good car, good house. This is natural. Allah has adorned from mankind. From the essence of them, for men, that they love the women. And they love the nice horses and the nice plots of land and gold and silver like this. It's natural love, حب الطبيعي. You can't help it. Along with that, love for your family members. You love them. You don't have someone else doesn't tell you to love them. Your family. It's حب الطبيعي. It's already in you. And the Shaykh says then, the most praiseworthy of them is the first one. Something you love for Allah's sake. That which is khayr. And all the other types, they depend on how they are. So obviously they all were permissible, these types mentioned. And of course there are other types of love which are impermissible. Permissible love like loving the fujjar, the wicked people, the dhalimeen, the mujrimeen. You can't love those people who do wrong. At the same time, loving wrong itself, haram, this is something we might be inclined towards it. Human nature, we want to do bad things, but you can't love it. You're supposed to train yourself to hate that thing for Allah's sake. And this is what's important, because in the beginning you say, well, it's already adorning. Sounds good, like music, it's haram. Yes, it's attractive when you hear it. You want to listen. This is when mankind is like this. But it's haram, so you hate it for Allah's sake. And all these types of love, well, there are proofs for them. And the Shaykh said it goes back down to the intention of the person. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ حيث عمر رضي الله تعالى عنه. The real actions are built upon the intentions. وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَىٰ. Everyone have that which they intended. So in reality, someone loves something for the sake that he loves it, you will be accounted for that. Certainly whatever is required to fulfill as an obligation is obligatory. So for example, what is the proof for loving the things that are good? Well, they're good in and of themselves. Allah loves them, so we love for Allah's sake, and that's the type of loving. مَنْ أَحَبَّ لِلَّهِ وَأَبْغَدَ لِلَّهِ. That's going to come later. Whoever loves for Allah's sake and hates for Allah's sake, and the end of the hadith, وَمَنْ أَعْطَى لِلَّهِ وَمَنَعَ لِلَّهِ فَقَدْ اسْتَكْمَلَ الْإِيمَانِ. So we have to love for Allah's sake. This is khayr. And we know the قاعدة الفقهية الوسائل له حكم المقاصد. That the means to take the ruling of the purpose. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made naturally for us to love something, we can love it. But if I love something because it helps me do khayr, that's the type of love that's recommended now. For example, you may love certain things you have, like your car, you love it because it helps you get to salah and the masjid, your family and friends, to khayrat, and you love it. This is now a type of ibadah, khayr. So this is also a principle that can be used in the opposite. For example, you love bad things or love things that are bad or things that are allowed, but then they lead you to bad. You're not supposed to love those things. You get the point. And we know natural love is there. As Allah tells us in Surah Al-Qasas, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ. Allah said to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you can't guide those whom you love. Ibn Kathir, Hafiz Ibn Kathir in his tafsir, he says, this is حب الطبيعي. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam half Abu Talib. Abu Talib's uncle. He died kafir. But he still loved him because his uncle, حب الطبيعي. But he tried to guide him. And when it didn't work, then he understood that he's misguided. This is important. That's why it's أحببت, whom you love. Some must say, how Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam Abu Talib, he's kafir. حب الطبيعي, natural love, his uncle. And he helped him da'wah a lot. How can you not love him naturally? But when he died and became misguided, what did Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam describe him? He told Ali, go and bury your father, Dal, one who's misguided. Abu Dawood reports, and others authenticated by Al-Albani. See how Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam understood when he died, clear disbelief, he didn't allow that to just be like his uncle. It's clear now, he's not upon the correct path. The same way with Ibrahim alayhi salam and his father. So it's important, in the day we have to always make sure our love is in accordance to the deen. We can't say we have hubb al-tabi'i and it goes above the law which is allowed. That makes us start to love people who are bad and say it doesn't matter, I still love this person. It's very important. We have to be careful. This is why the Shaykh Hassan mentioned this subject, because it's connected to Tawheed. So he brings the ayah. What's the ayah mean? Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen mentions two opinions. And this is the first one, is the correct one, which is that they love these rivals as they love Allah. So they make them partners with Him in love. But those who believe are more profound in love for Allah than those do for Allah. So the mushrikeen, they have idols, they love them, and they claim to also love Allah. But the believers, they love Allah more. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. They love Allah more than them, and they love Allah more than these people claim to love Allah, and they love what they worship of idols. Another opinion was given, which is that the same way that they loved idols, the believers love them more. The Shaykh says the first one is more correct. That whatever claim they have for love of Allah, the believers have more iman. And it explains how that can be derived. Just because Allah says أَشَدُّ حُبًّا doesn't mean that the believers have any love for the idols. It doesn't intend that. Because Allah says أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ يَوْمَئِذٍ خَيْرٌ مُسْتَقَرًّا وَأَحْسَنُ مَقِيلًا. The Yawm al-Qiyamah, the people of paradise are better, have the best abode or better abode than those in the Jahannam, or the best abode in the fairest places. It doesn't mean that the people in Jahannam have any khayr in Jannah anyways. They don't have any Jannah. So here when Allah says khayrun, doesn't mean that better than their place. They don't have a place in Jannah. So it's not always that it has to be that each of them is sharing in something. Allah is pointing here, the believers' love for Allah is stronger than their belief and their love for Allah that they claim to have. Those polytheists. And also we see that Allah is prohibiting us here from loving those idols. We're not supposed to love anyone in worship except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he goes to the second ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us now about in relation to love for our family, our wealth. Allah says, say if your fathers, your sons, your brothers, your wives, your kindred, the wealth that you've gained, the commerce in which you fear decline, the dwellings in which you delight, are dearer to you than Allah and His Messenger. So here Shaykh says, Aba'ukum, here refers to means your fathers. But the Shaykh says here, when he's talking about all these categories, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is he pointing here? Shaykh says, how can someone, when he says here, the verse points to the fact that the love of these people, even though not by way of worship, will attract punishment if it's given preference over loving Allah. And that's the shahid. We're not prohibited from loving our family members, our wives, our daughters, our sons, from loving our business, loving our money, but now over Allah and His Messenger. Now over the love of Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is where Shaykh says this is what we deduce from this. So here Allah is showing that if this is what it is, and these things prevent you from striving in the path of Allah, then فَتَرَبَّصُوا, wait of Allah's punishment. So it's a benefit for us that we should be careful about how we love people. We should not misguide us from the straight path. And we should love no one above Allah and His Messenger. That's what we're going to get to that next, how important it is to put the things in the right position. So first thing, benefit from this, that we have to love Allah and His Messenger more than anything. And it's going to come in the next hadith. And next to that, it's not prohibited to love these things. And this is mankind. Allah says in the Quran here, وَتِجَارَةٌ تَخْشَوْنَ كَسَادَهَا. If you do business, you're afraid it's going to go down. That's human nature. وَمَسَاكِنَ تَرْضَوْنَهَا. And the house which you love, that's human nature. They want to have big houses, or they always worry about the property. Allah didn't prohibit us of that. But it shouldn't be that. Allah mentioned this, أَحَبَّ إِلَيْكُمْ, more beloved to you than Allah. So while it's permissible to have that, and that's part of human nature, should not more than this. And that's why we see the belief of the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum is so great, because they didn't allow these things to misguide them from the love of Allah and Messenger. So important, because human beings, we have to be careful of that. Now, Shaykh Islam, to prove the point, he brings down what's important about different ahadith on the subject of love. Before we get there, Shaykh al-Uthaymeen, he mentions an interesting benefit. How can someone love something while he hates it at the same time? Is it not trying to make an impossible matter possible? It means it's possible for someone to hate something and love it, or love something and hate it. What does he mean by this? He says that a person loves for a thing may turn to dislike, and vice versa. So for example, you have a friend, you like him, and he steals something from you and he violates your honor, so you dislike him. Or for example, someone who smokes. He has a true wish and craving to smoke, but then he knows it's bad, so he hates it then. So it's possible somebody has this. And he mentions the hadith here, but the hadith is weak. Rasulullah apparently said, Allahumma hada fi'li, oh Allah, this is my distribution, means regarding his wives. Rasulullah had many wives, they were co-wives, so he distributed his time and efforts between them. So he said, Allahumma hada fi'li, oh Allah, this is my action, فَمَا أَمْلِكَ, that which I cannot, this is what I can control. As for that which I cannot, فَلَا تَلُمْنِي فِي مَا تَمْلِكُ وَلَا أَمْلِكُ, don't punish me for that which I cannot control or is out of my control. Hadith in reality is da'if hadith, the Shaykh Al-Bani weakens in da'if at-Targhib. But nonetheless, it's pointing to the fact that sometimes love is out of our control, and as a person he has to be careful of it. He also brings a statement here of Hassan on page 55. Hassan al-Basri reportedly said, no one hides a secret except that Allah, the Exalted, shows it on the pages of his face, or on his face, and the planes of his tongue. The limbs are the mirrors of the heart. And what the Shaykh is trying to prove from that, it's possible to know what someone loves from their actions. It's possible to know what's in somebody's heart through their actions. This narration is actually not from Hassan. I couldn't find it from there. Many scholars, they quote this from Uthman bin Affan radiallahu ta'ala anhu. In reality, without really a chain narration, or I couldn't find one for it. So Shaykh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, he quotes this in Majmu' al-Fatawa, volume 14, page 110. And likewise, Hafiz Ibn Kathir in Tafsir Surah Al-Fath. And Ibn Muflih in his Kitab At-Tawheed, volume 1, page 136. But there's no sanad. They don't mention a chain narration for this. The Uthman said this statement. Allahu a'lam. But it's a qawl sahih that we can find out what someone loves, or what's at least in their heart, through their actions. Because when you love something, you talk about it. When you love something, you display it in your body. You do it. And so one of the benefits we see is that somebody can't hide it. Either he'll hide it on his tongue, either talk a lot about it, and that's proof they love something. Or they'll just mention it without really being aware when they love something. And likewise also with their actions. When you love something, you keep doing it. So then we like, for example, a particular place to eat, you keep going there. That's proof you like it. You don't have to, someone doesn't have to ask you. You can see for fair that maybe he likes this place. Or likewise somebody who he likes particular sports, you see him talking about it. This is proof he likes it. Because he's continuously talking about it. And of course, the reality of the heart is only to Allah. But there are certain things we have as human beings evidence for. And this is what Ibn Qayyim also affirms. And somebody mentioned the analogy like how they have a bowl of soup. You don't have to go to the bottom of the soup to know what's in it. You just taste the top and you know what's in the bottom. I mean, of course, unless you put something in the bottom. But if you just normal soup, you just taste the top, you know what's lying in the bottom. You have to put all the way down there. So that's the analogy to show. Likewise, the heart, it's in the tongue. If you're talking something, it's a dalil, there's something in your heart. So the first hadith he brings here is the hadith Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "None of you believes until I am more beloved to him than his children, his parents, and the entire mankind." Akhrajahu means reported by Bukhari and Muslim. So this hadith is a very important hadith because it teaches us now that we have to have a certain love. La yu'min ahadukum, none of you truly believes, until hatta akuna ahabba ilayhi, till I am, means he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, more beloved to him than walad min waladihi wa walidihi wa nas ajma'in, or waladihi wa walidihi wa nas ajma'in. So children, his parents, and finally all of mankind. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam must be more beloved to you than that. So here the Shaykh says, none of you believes is a negation of faith. Negating faith could at times mean negation of his presence. That is negation of basic faith. However, what is negated in this hadith is the completeness of faith, which is obligatory. So here, except if the heart is absolutely lacking in the love of the Messenger ﷺ, then it will refer to negation of the faith. So here, we're going to mention a benefit in relation to Iman. The ulama, when they talk about Iman, they say that somebody, when it comes to Iman, there are different types and levels of Iman. The first thing someone has to have when they come to Islam and become a Muslim, and they have the Arkan al-Iman, is they have Asl al-Iman. It's called Asl al-Iman. So someone has to have Asl al-Iman. Islam and Iman. Sometimes we know Islam can mean the outward actions, and sometimes Iman means internal, and sometimes Iman means actions, and sometimes Islam is mentioned, includes both, or vice versa. We know these things. But somebody has to have Asl al-Iman. Asl al-Iman is you have Islam, and you have Arkan al-Iman, and you believe you love Allah and His Messenger and basics. This is called Asl al-Iman. And that reason, somebody then who is the basic level, is a Muslim. Basic level, we can say, is a mu'min. The basic level. But we're going to explain that in more detail. So this is called Asl al-Iman. So here, la yu'minu ahadukum, none of you truly believes. Shaykh says sometimes hadiths like this come in relation to someone who doesn't believe here, means doesn't have Asl al-Iman. But this is rare. This is rare. Most hadith, some scholars say most hadith, la yu'minu doesn't come to mean someone doesn't have Asl al-Iman. What it really intends, Shaykh says this hadith, and all hadith like it means someone doesn't have Kamal Iman al-Wajib, or what they call Iman al-Wajib. Iman al-Wajib. Iman al-Wajib is the Iman which you have to have. Allah, He says, you should be like this. The believers are like this. The asl of it is tarkul muharramat, or fi'lul mustahabbat, or fi'lul wajibat. This is the asl that someone should be a believer really has Imanul Wajib, which is fi'lul wajibat. You do all the wajibat Allah tells you to do. Tarkul muharramat, all of them, not one of them you leave everything. This is Iman that's wajib. And when someone who has Iman wajib, there are different levels. Someone have Kamal Iman wajib, and someone's Iman wajib is not Kamal, it's qasir, it's short or deficient. So this is referring to this hadith, Imanul Wajib. La yu'min ahadukum, here it's referring to the person who doesn't believe, i.e. doesn't have Imanul Wajib, or Kamal Iman Wajib. The completion of the perfect, the completion of the obligatory Iman until he does this. It doesn't mean if you don't have this, that you have no Iman. Make sense? The Shaykh says, unless someone is at the level where he doesn't have even any love for Rasulullah, which reality, that's not a Muslim, right? Someone says, I don't love Allah, I love a Messenger, that's not a Muslim. Every Muslim loves Allah and Messenger, but Does every Muslim love Allah and Messenger more than his family? More than his children? More than everything? No. So this is what we're supposed to be like. We're supposed to have imanul wajib. But here, kamal imanul wajib. Because this is a hard level. And Shaykh going to prove it later on to the Hadith Umar. One day Umar said to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there is nothing except that you are more beloved to than me. Means I love you more than anything except myself. Now Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam tell him, but the one who my soul is in his hand, none of you should believe حتى أكون أحب إليه من نفسه. That I have to be more beloved to him than even his own self. The Umar then said, you are now more beloved to me than my own self. He said, الآن يا Umar. Now you've reached Umar. So Umar increased in love with Rasul and he completed it. So he has Kamal Iman Wajib. Well, we benefit from this that we're supposed to be going towards that. Now Iman Wajib, everyone has. After the Asl Iman, depending on how you deal with the Muharramat and the Wajibat, you may be different. So someone may have a higher Iman Wajib, means someone may be closer to Kamal, or someone may even have Kamal. And other people who do some haram, they fall short of some wajibat. We don't say they don't have asl iman. We say that they have asl iman and they have something more than iman. So they have something of the iman wajib, but not the completion yet. So this is why in our life, it's one of our goals. We're trying to complete our iman. We're trying to complete the obligations of iman. And then when we complete the obligations of iman, the things that Rasulullah and Allah says you have to have, the believers do. And when you see this kind of wording, none of you believes, it means that believers have to be like this. So ulama say what it means, like until you get that, you don't have the completion of the obligatory iman. And then there are things that are beyond that you don't have to do, but if you do, it's great. The iman is going to be increased. They call this imanul mustahab or kamal mustahab. Imanul mustahab are the things that mustahabbat. There's no sin if you don't do it. But the believers, they have the kamal, iman, mustahab. They even do up and beyond that. They do things that you don't have to do, but they do it anyways because they have the perfect iman. Example, iman to al-adha an tariq. That's in the shu'ab of iman to clean up the street or dirt in the path or your house or anywhere. So if someone doesn't do it, we don't say, oh, your iman is deficient. In relation to the mustahabbat. This is from the iman mustahab. It's good to go do it. If you don't do it, it doesn't mean you don't have asl iman. It doesn't mean you don't have iman wajib. Rather, it means you have some shortcoming in the iman mustahab. But the true believer, he has asr iman, kamal wajib, and kamal mustahab. When we look at the Sahaba, did they leave anything off? No, they did everything Allah describes them as a believer should be, they're doing it. And so our goal really, when we say increase our iman, in all these levels. Some ulama, they break this down in an easier way. And I say that a believer can be described in two ways. Especially when we talk about people who are deficient in their iman. Because we don't want to fall on the side of the Khawarij and Mu'tazila who are disparaging the people of sin. I'm not disparaging but criticizing, disparaging and removing them out of the fold of Islam. We don't want to be like them. So some ulama say how we deal with this is that if somebody is perfect in his iman, i.e. he's completed his iman, then he has what's called imanul mutlaq. Iman al-mutlaq, which we translate to the absolute iman. Al-iman al-mutlaq means they do all the obligation, do the recommended things. They don't do haram, they don't do fawahish, they don't do major sins. Iman al-mutlaq. But then the people who do major sins fall short, they have what's called mutlaq al-iman. You flipped it around, right? So iman al-mutlaq, that's the higher one. Then there's mutlaq al-iman. Just turn the words around. What does that mean? That means somebody, he's still a believer, but he may drink alcohol. He may smoke, he may sometimes miss the salah on correct timing, because he's late. Well, can I say this guy's not a mu'min? Absolutely. This is the category we want to focus on. The first one's called iman al-mutlaq. This was like the person who's all the wajibat, does recommended things, but the one we're focusing on is the one who's mutlaq al-iman. The person who's sinful, we don't take from him the mutlaq al-iman. Has arkan al-iman. He has asl al-iman, but he has sin. So some Ahl Sunnah, what they say describing is mu'minun bi-imanihi, fasiqun bi-kabiratihi. That's the easy way to remember. He's a believer in relation to his iman, a wicked doer in relation to his major sin. So Ahl Sunnah don't take that person out of Islam. So you see someone drink alcohol, do you say this guy is not a believer? Mutlaq al-iman, he has. He doesn't have iman mutlaq. See, it's very important because Khawarij say if you drink alcohol or you're smoking, killing people, out of Islam. They take you out of Da'ir al-Iman and Islam. What is this? And this is not how Islam is. Because we know if somebody has some deficiency there, that doesn't mean he doesn't have the basics in his heart. He doesn't still believe in 6 pillars, still doesn't love Allah's Messenger. He's deficient. You see, so very important. When we talk about the person who's shortcoming, we don't make takfir of them based on them. مَا لَمْ يَسْتَحِلُّهُ. As long as they don't say that's halal. A different story, right? If somebody comes start saying, well, this is not haram anyways. This is a different chapter. We're talking about someone who knows is doing wrong. So when we talk about this hadith, what is it talking about? You won't have the imanul wajib, kamal iman wajib. So really, we're supposed to work towards it. We're not supposed to say, okay, in that case, I don't have to have it. No, you have to. Believers, all true believers should love Allah's Messenger more than anything. So that's one of the things we should also try to measure in ourselves. How do I get there? And am I like this? So here the Shaykh says, what are the benefits from this? Number of reasons why we have to love Allah's Messenger. Number one, because He's the Messenger of Allah. So if Allah is more beloved to you than other things, His Messenger should be dear. If you love Allah, you love His Messenger. Allah chose Him. He's the best. And Sayyidu Walad Adam. And the Master, he said, of the children of Adam, wala fakhar. Number two, because His great efforts towards worshipping Allah and conveying the message. Rasulullah is the best role model. Best abid, best da'i. Number three, His noble characters, His righteous deeds. He did so much good. He's a high character. You have to love Him. And that's how a lot of people, when they read about Rasul's biography, even non-Muslims, they love Him just by what they hear and read. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. You can't ignore this. You have to love Him just because of those qualities He has. Naturally, this is a great man. Next, fourth, that He is a means to your guidance. It's very important. We have to love Him because through His guidance, we can be guided. It's very important. Rasulullah is our messenger. He's left behind all, or He's to narrate to us all that Allah told Him to. We have to follow Him to be guided. And if we don't, we can't be guided. It says of knowledge and actions. And for fifth, His patience in difficulties. And when you see Rasulullah sabr, remember, sometimes you'll be crying for our sake, for His ummah. Until Yawm al-Qiyam, we know even in the Hawd, He's still worrying about the ummah. See? We have to love Him. He's one who did a lot for the da'wah, more than that. He's one who cares about us. And sixthly, because He gave effort for His wealth and soul to raise Allah's word. So of course, Rasulullah, we have to love Him. But following the benefits from the hadith, it's obligation of giving preference for love of Messenger over loving oneself. And that's something we have to work on. How do we love Allah's Messenger more than ourselves? Practice what He teaches. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهِ. If you want to love Allah, love me, He says. Allah says, if you want to love Allah, love فَاتَّبِعُونِي, follow me. يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهِ, Allah will love you. So one way you say you want to love Rasulullah, follow His sunnah. And prefer His sunnah over your personal preferences, opinions. See Sahaba, how they used to do it? They follow His sunnah, in ibadat. And even when it comes to personal preferences, they preferred His over theirs. If Rasulullah didn't like something, they don't like it now. If you like it, they like it. It's not wajib, it's how they are, the higher level. And we know the examples. Anas and Malik, who loved the squash, the pumpkin, Rasulullah loved it. Abu Ayyub, when he hosted Rasulullah, he's Muslim. And Rasulullah, he was living upstairs and he was living downstairs. So he said, how can I live above Rasulullah? So he said, I have to live down, you have to live. It's his house. He put Rasulullah above there. This is the hubbi house. And then he sent food and the food came back. Rasulullah didn't want it. He said, if you don't like it, I don't like it then. I don't want it either. This is the kind of love they have. He said, if you dislike it, I dislike it. See, this is above. He didn't say, and it's not haram, say I can eat it too because it's not haram. You see the love they have for Rasulullah. So this is one of the ways you can do the higher level. But the basics, follow His sunnah. If you have an opinion, you find out it's against the hadith, you throw your opinion away. That's how the Imma Sunnah teaches. Imam Shafi'i, what did he say? If you find in my books a qawl from me, فَضْرِبُ بِهِ حَائِطٍ, throw it against the wall. If you hear my opinion against Rasulullah, throw it against the wall. So you don't need that. And he's saying that. This is Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahl Sunnah. He's saying this, but at the same time showing again how much they emphasize his statement, not against the Rasulullah statement, not allowed. So this is some ways you can do. Another one, supporting the Messenger ﷺ with the self and wealth. So we have to try to support his cause, to support the da'wah Rasulullah came with. Defend him if someone attacks him. Teach the people who he was. That is obligatory upon one to support the sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ and give his self, wealth and effort towards it. So some people knowledge say, Inna shani'ika huwa labata, those who make you angry, or Messenger ﷺ, or who curse you, to be cut off, that is the one who angers you. They say likewise, the one who dislikes the sharia, he will be cut off. He lacks any goodness in him. Fourth, the permissibility of loving by way of compassion, respect, and veneration based on his statement, more beloved to him than his children and his parents. I mean, we love our children or our parents out of compassion, love, and respect. That's permissible. And the obligation of giving preference to the statement of the Messenger ﷺ over the statement of all the people, because from the implication of him being dearer than any other person is his statement is giving preference. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tuqaddimu bayna yaday Allahi wa rasul. We can't go above Allah and Messenger. So Kitab and Sunnah. If you hear it, in my opinion, forget it. Quran, Sunnah. And that's how we should be. And that's how we should be regarding these issues. You may see something and so much desire for it to do it. For someone comes to you and says, this contradicts Allah's the statement of the Messenger ﷺ. If the Messenger ﷺ is dearer to you than yourself, you will support his statement more than yours. This is true khalas. True mutaba'ah, right? You like something or you hold opinion and someone comes and tells you hadith sahih, you leave your opinion, you follow the hadith. Even if you are enthusiastic about it. Example, the poet says, you disobey deity and claim love for him. This I swear is amazing given a thought. If your love for him is sincere, we're sure to obey him. Certain lovers to the one he beloved, a follower. So that's the best sign to prove to someone who really loves Allah. We don't want to be like some of the people of innovation who say, we love Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And what is the proof of their love? They disobey him. It's not love Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And we see that's why Ahl Sunnah, they follow Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Because he's going to be Yawm al-Qiyamah our Imam. The same Rasul said, Inni imamukum, I'm your Imam when it comes to Salah. Yawm al-Qiyamah, he's our Imam. So we follow him. But more importantly, we have to be careful not to oppose him. And not to claim we love him, we do things he doesn't like. So today, nowadays, when we talk about certain issues, some people, they look at things the wrong way. It could be khilafat, bayn ahl ilm, it could be an issue that is touchy. Is this something Allah, His Messenger doesn't love? This is something we should ask. Did Rasul love something? No, he didn't. We shouldn't love it either. Even if we argue it could be permissible, if we didn't like it, we don't like it. And if he didn't test it, we should test it. We train ourselves to be this way. We have to be careful. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to be hated by Allah's Messenger ﷺ. For some people, Yawm al-Qiyamah, Rasul ﷺ will hate. In أَبْغَضُ الرِّجَالِ إِلَيَّ, he said, those people I hate the most. أَبْعَدُ مِنِّي مَجْلِسًا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. Those furthest away from Yawm al-Qiyamah. And he mentions some examples of those people. There are people who doesn't want to see, means they're far from him and hates them for the qualities they possess. We don't want to be those people who didn't follow his way, we're not like him. So here, this line of poetry is very important. لو كان حبك صادقا لأطعته. If your love for Allah, first and foremost, was truthful, you obey Him. فإن محب لمن يحب مطيعه. The true one who loves someone follows him. And likewise, you can apply this to the Rasulullah. So we don't prefer his statement or before other statement over his, whether it be Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali. And we know the narration of Ibn Abbas. It's coming later on in the book. How Ibn Abbas got angry when people were saying Abu Bakr and Umar said, Radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, these are Imma. He's not talking about the Malahi, he's talking about the Imma, the Shaykhain, right? The real Shaykhain above Shaykhain. The Bukhari Muslim, Abu Bakr and Umar. He got angry because the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was talking about it. So very important. ما كان لمؤمن ولا مؤمنة يقضى الله ورسوله أمرا أن يكون لهم الخيرة من أمرهم. It's not for a believer, male or female, when Allah and His Messenger have decreed a matter, they should have any opinion in a matter or in the decision. So the Shaykh goes into that more. I think the issue is clear. And the Ahl Sunnah, we always like this, making clear how we should be. Another hadith from Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the three qualities whoever possesses them has found they're in the sweetness of Iman, that Allah and the Messenger should be dearer to him than any other than them, and he loves the person only for the sake of Allah, and he dislikes returning to disbelief after Allah has saved him from it, as if they hate to be flung into the fire. Another riwayah, no one will find the sweetness of faith until. So here we see that Rasul mentioned three qualities. And so these qualities, we should pay attention to them. You see, he says, وَجْدَ بِهِنَّ حَلَاوَةِ الْإِيمَانِ. And we learn that benefit that Iman has a halawa, a sweetness, and a bashasha, it has a blight that goes in the heart of someone. So this is something we should be looking to obtain. So number one, that Allah and His Messenger are more beloved to Him than anything else. So this is obligation. Obligation. يكون الله ورسوله أحب إليه مما سواهما. This is important. And it's not just on the tongue, but by action. Number two, that should be that he loves for someone, and he only loves him for Allah's sake. أن يحب المرء, he only loves somebody. أن يحب المرء, he only loves someone. لا يحبه إلا لله. He only loves that person for Allah's sake. So this is important, loving someone for the sake of Allah. A person loved for other has many means. He could love him for a worldly sake, or because they're relatives or companionship. A man will love his wife for the enjoyment, and he could also love whoever does good to him. But if you love this person for Allah's sake, then that is from the means of attaining Allah, the sweetness of Iman. So you have to love for Allah's sake. You love someone because they're from the people of Sunnah. You love a person because of the khair they have with them. Not because they're your neighbor and they grew up in the same street as you. That's not for Allah's sake. You see, we have to distinguish between the two. This is normal. You love someone because you always see them. Or love family member because family. But you love for someone for the sake of Allah, it's the higher level. And how we should be this way. And this is something which Islam also comes to bring together the love for the sake of Allah. Sometimes we hear this a lot. Someone says, I love for someone for the sake of Allah. It's not something easy. And it's also sunnah that somebody, when he loves someone for the sake of Allah, he informs them. One man, he came to Rasulullah and said, I love so-and-so. And I said to him, أعلمه أعلمته. Did you go and tell him? He said, لا. I said, أعلمه. Go and tell him. So he told him, and the man replied, أحبك الذي أحببتني فيه. May the one whose sake you love me, love you. So that's the kind of reply if someone tells you, إني أحبك في الله. I love you for Allah's sake. And it's a heavy word. It's not something you say lightly. You love someone for the sake of Allah, for Allah's sake. Something that is real. And something that we should be in Islam, should be inculcating. I love people for the sake of Allah. Because if it wasn't for the khair and the aqeedah and the things that we follow, we wouldn't have anything that binds most of us. Because we don't all come from the same background, same streets, the same, kind of class or parents in the same kind of, occupation. No. It's a deen. If it wasn't for the minhaj sahih and the aqeedah sahih, what would it be? That would gather us in this kind of majalis. We have to think about it. This is why loving for the sake of Allah is one of the greatest things. Because it's pure and sincere. And if someone does that, he has the halal. He obtains from that the sweetness of Iman. And Rasulullah he used to tell people he loved them for the sake of Allah. Hadith Mu'adh radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Ya Mu'adh, inni la uhibbuka fillah. I love you for Allah's sake. Then he gave him advice. فَلَا تَدَعَنَّ تُبَلْ كُلِّ صَلَاةٍ مَكْتُوبَةٍ تَقُولُ اللهم عني على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. So this hadith is important because Rasulullah number one told Mu'adh he loved him for the sake of Allah. So he told the sunnah and he practiced it himself. So sunnah fi'liya and qawliya. Qawliyan and fi'liyan. And next, Rasulullah gave him good advice. So as part of loving for the sake of Allah, you tell him khair. He didn't say Mu'adh love you for the sake of Allah, but he told him something khair. Tell him ibadah, sunnah. There's also fa'idah we benefit when it comes to dua. This dua is important. And this dua is khilaf ahl ilm. When do you say it? Before tashahhud, or after tashahhud, or after salam? Some ulama say dubr means after, means outside the action. Some say it's within the action. It's a khilaf. But this hadith is sahih. And this dua is something thabit, established. Then Shaykh he brings another, or so often the last one, is that he hates to return disbelief. The same he hates to be flung into a fire. Means after Allah has saved him from it. So as a parent refers to disbelief or accepted Islam and hates to return to disbelief after Allah has saved him from it. He hates to be flung into fire. He has only slight discontent because the disbeliever has been accustomed to what he initially was upon. And he returned to a contrary to the one who had never been known disbelief. So whoever hates to return to disbelief as he abhors being flung into fire, this is attaining the sweetness of Iman. And it's a side benefit for us too to think about that, because somebody who grew up a disbeliever means the fitrah of his Islam was inculcated by the environment, parents, whatever it is. They grew up Christian, Jew, whatever it is. Man, they may feel accustomed to that which they grew up with. So, but someone like this, if he has to inculcate in themselves that they will hate this disbelief that they came out of, Allah saved them from it, the same way they hate to be thrown in the fire. So it's important, and we should also be, as Muslims, beware of that. Some may come to Islam and then may revert back to what they came from. If they don't feel strong in their iman, or they're not given the proper knowledge or companionship, some may revert. We know that people came to Islam and left it. And so Shaykh gave us the benefit here that he has only side discounted Rasulullah was talking about this person because some disbeliever may be accustomed to what he was upon before, and his iman is not strong. But nonetheless, all of us, we should never be also ungrateful for the Islam Allah gave us, because we were born Muslim and everyone is. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided us to have our parents and environment to allow us to continue to be Muslim until this point. So same way, if someone should not be ungrateful to Allah and try to throw the ni'mah of Islam, the greatest ni'mah Allah gave you, and preferring for whatever it is, disbelief, or misguidance, for dunya or other reasons. The next narration he brings, the first one is not authentic, but the second one is, Ibn Abbas said regarding the verse, then all their relations will be cut off from them. It means mawaddah. This is a ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah, اتَّبَرَّأَ الَّذِينَ تُبِعُوا مِنَ الَّذِينَ تَبَعُوا. Allah says that those who were followed will cut themselves off from those who are following them. وَرَأُوا الْعَذَابَ وَتَقَطَّعَتْ بِهِمُ الْأَسْبَابِ. And they will all see the punishment and they will cut off. The relationship between them will be cut off. Ay, and mawaddah. So here we'll see the people who are misguidance, the love they have for each other is not true love. It's for dunya. And this is actually we see from most of the time. People that love one another, not for the sake of Allah, it's all material. And if it's for misguidance and hawa, misguidance and desires, and Yawm al-Qiyamah they will hate each other. الْأَخِلَّاءُ يَوْمَئِذٍ بَعْضُهُمْ لِبَعْضٍ عَدُوٌّ إِلَّا الْمُتَّقِينَ. Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah says, all friends will be enemies except for those who are pious. SubhanAllah. People today are so worried about friendship and stuff. If it's not for lillah, Yawm al-Qiyamah will be adaw. It's so important to think about this. If this also applies to blind followers. It's a dalil against the muqallidun. Those who make taqdeed Yawm al-Qiyamah, tubi'u, those who are followed and those who are not followed, taqatta' bihim asbab. They're going to cut the paths, the ways they have. They hate each other. As Ibrahim told them, the idol worshippers, قَالَ إِنَّمَا اتَّخَذْتُمْ. You only take these idols, وَدَّةً بَيْنَكُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ يَكْفُرُ بَعْضُهُم بِبَعْضٍ وَيَلْعَنُ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا وَمَأْوَاكُمُ النَّارُ وَمَا لَكُمْ مِن نَاصِرِينَ. SubhanAllah, Ibrahim clearly telling them, it's just mawaddah in dunya, Yawm al-Qiyamah you disbelieve in each other and you curse each other. That's exactly what you see. So reality, if someone doesn't love someone for the sake of Allah, that's not true love. And more than that, it's not going to last. So that's why loving for the sake of Allah is a friendship that is, inshallah, permanent. And today we have a situation in our society, people can't find good friends. Because it's not for Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't go away. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is qayyum. If you love for His sake, inshallah, that love will last until Jannah. And also you benefit the believers, they have high status above others. We know the taqi, or the awliya of Allah, those people have great status, the love for Allah's sake. And this is also something that's special. So for us, we should try to make all our relationships for the sake of Allah. Even if you love someone with hubb tabi'i, make it lillah. So you don't love, this is my cousin only, but his cousin will be upon khair. So I like him more. Make it for Allah, not just because he's my cousin. On the opposite true, hating for Allah's sake of Allah, we can't forget that. Hate man ahabba lillah wa abghada lillah. For Allah's sake, hates for Allah's sake. إن أوثق العرى الإيمان حب في الله وبغض في الله. أي تبراني صحيح. You have to do both. So even if you found a member, but they're not good with the deen, you talk bad about the deen, you can't say, oh, حب الطبيعي is there, but you said, no, this person is misguided. I don't care if it's my family member, it's misguided. As I would say very clearly, because بغض في الله وأعطى لله ومنع لله. We give for Allah's sake, we hold back for Allah's sake. So very important, when you give me a gift for Allah's sake, the same way that if you hold back for something for Allah's sake. Now, it shouldn't be that you hold back something because you're angry only, or someone did you wrong. No, for Allah's sake. Someone doesn't deserve this money. Islamically, I can hold it back, I'll hold it back. The last one, if he does all this, he completes Iman. Some Rawai mentioned, he gets married for Allah's sake. For the correct intention, for afaf, for chastity. This is all important. These are things for Allah's sake. So we always have to make sure for Allah's sake. Do it the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants it. And so here the Shaykh mentioned this ayah. It's a great benefit because we see, especially the people who he's referring to here, the mushrikeen often, they don't love for Allah's sake. They love the idols, but it's not for Allah's sake. Yawm al-Qiyamah, it'll be cut off. And Shaykh he gets into in the end of the book. It's quite a lengthy discussion, but he's referring to a danger in the time in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia. People, a lot of disbelievers living in Saudi Arabia, and people loving them, and becoming confused in relation to them because of growing number, and people are forgetting wala bara, allegiance for Allah. Then he mentions lines of poetry in Ibn Qayyim, do you love the enemies of the loving one and claim love for him, which is not possible. It means Allah is an enemy to somebody, you gotta love the enemies of Allah. That doesn't mean then we'd treat someone the way Allah didn't allow. You have to remember hubb and bughd for Allah's sake. Otherwise, we'll love everyone for dunya, and we'll start making our own arrangements. And Shaykh is worrying about this and the problem that it comes. He mentioned in the narration that Muhammad said, when I see a question, I close my eyes, and I dislike that I should see the enemy of Allah with my eyes. Some ulama they mention this like Tabaqat al-Hanabila, Wallahu alam, it's sihha. It's chain reversing, but they mentioned this again because of this idea that this person is misguided and one who's claiming a lie upon Allah. Again, there's some authenticity, wallahu a'lam, of it. But we see the importance of making sure our allegiance is in the right place. So we treat people fairly, we're equitable with them, we're good to people. Allah tells us, القول الناس حسنا. Speak good words to the people. أقسطوا إن الله يحب المقسطين. Be equitable with people. Treat them equitably. But we don't make that good treatment. I'm not saying you may love someone. You may not love something, but you still don't harm it. It's very important, again, love for Allah's sake. We have to make sure that we don't love things just because we think it's good or feel like it's fine or someone told us to. And we have to also remember that loving the good people is a way to guide us. Loving the bad, hating the bad people for the bad that they're in, that's what they're in and they do, is also a way for protection. Because we know today what's one of the biggest challenges we have? It's not necessarily doing the bad things only, but loving the people who are bad. So in today's time we're tested that. So many people we see, famous people, celebrities, not very good people. Allah understands people loving them. Why? It's not for Allah's sake. Because for Allah's sake you will see something bigger. This person is not guided. Perhaps they're good at this job or good at that field, but that doesn't necessarily that I have to love this person. And people are inclining towards the wrong people. And the Salihin, people are not looking at them the right way. There's the ulama, the khair, muhsineen, people don't say, oh, these are good people, but they don't love them the same way they love them. Allah warns us, وَلَا تَرْكَنُوا إِلَى الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا فَتَمَسَّكُمُ النَّارِ. Do not incline towards those who are oppressive, that's the hellfire touch you to. It's very important today. People, they be careful. It's always eyeing the things, the bad people, the fasiqeen, on social media, on YouTube. These are bad people. You should not love them. And if you don't love them, then don't follow them and what they're doing. Follow the people khair. And why? Because even if we have no khair with you, we love the good people, that's the way to success. Allah, today this is one thing we have to remember. Perhaps all of us, we don't have done anything good. Well, how are we going to say ourselves? Love the good people. That's a self-sincere hadith. Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu, man came and said, Ya Rasulullah, kayfa tara? How do you think? What do you think about someone? Rajul, a man. He loves qawman wa lam yahaq bihim. It doesn't catch up with them in good deeds, doesn't do what they do. He said, ma'a man ahab, a person with the one he loves. Allahu Akbar. Another hadith Anas, a man came and he said, Ya Rasulullah, mata sa'a. He said, ma a'dadta laha. What have you prepared for it? He said, la shay. Illa inni uhibbu illa inni uhibbu Allah wa Rasuluhu. He said, I've done nothing except for Allah, Allah and Messenger. قال عليه الصلاة والسلام أنت مع من أحببت. You're with the one we love. The Anas Malik says, ما فرحنا بشيء فرحنا ما فرحنا بشيء. He said, we didn't get happy about anything. فرحنا, but that kind of فرح we had بالقول الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم that day. أنت مع من أحببت. We're so happy because of the statement. He continued on Anas Malik. He said, إني أحب الله. He said, إني أحب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وأبا بكر وعمر وأرجو أن أكون معهم بحبي إياهم. He said that I love Allah's Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم. I love Abu Bakr and Umar and I hope I'll be with them due to my love for them. وإن لم أعمل مثل أعمالهم. Even if I don't do what they do of actions. So Anas was Anas. Sahabi ربما من you. Today we love the Salihin, the ulama, salaf. This is way to us our own success. Perhaps we did nothing else good. Right? Fall short in every angle of the deen. And then we love the Salihin. Inshallah, أكون معه يوم القيامة. زمرة أهل العلم in the company of the khair, the Salihin. And this is one thing we have to take advantage of. The way Anas be happy, we should be happy. To very least, I sincerely love the people of khair, even though I'm not like them. And that's why today, one thing the people they're always missing is this. Be careful. Perhaps we are upon khair, we love the people who are fasiqeen. And then what happens? We love them, we follow them eventually. من تشبه بقوم فهو منهم. This is one of the most dangerous things for the youth today. The problem is they're loving the wrong people. And they don't understand that they're following them because they love them. Right? Nobody's influenced anyone to that level where you're compelled to follow the bad people. What is pushing us? You're loving them. And how do you love them? Because you're always worried about them. You're always seeing them. You're always listening to them. You're always following them. And if we turn all that attention to the Salihin, we'll have changed our heart and then change our actions. Because like we said, one way to see what someone's heart is their action and statement. If we just they turn the whole attention to the good people, listening to them, following them, loving them, and they better resemble them. SubhanAllah. And this we see one of the keys to have the young people is to get them to love the people of khair. Likewise, it's dangerous to hate them. And we know, ayat al-nifaq, bughd al-ansar. Hating ansar is ayat al-nifaq. We hate the sahaba, no khair for you. Some of the Buddhists doubt in your Islam there. The same way, لا تبغضوا أهل العلم. You can't hate أهل العلم. The ulama mentioned that, some scholars reported that. Right? كون عالما, be a scholar, or متعالما, or طالب علم. If you can't do that, then love them. If you can't do that, لا تبغضوهم. Don't hate them. At the very least, you can't do anything. Don't hate them with khair. Again, this could be one of the best paths to success for someone. Far away, but I love the khair. I love the people khair. And we know, Rasulullah said that we have to think carefully about these type of things. And that's what the Shaykh then brings the ayah and we mentioned before, that the people, friends on that day will be foes, except for those who are muttaqeen. And so for us, one of the big things we learn from this is that we have to love Allah. And we have to have love for His Messenger above everything else. And then of course, in relation to the other things, we have to try our best to increase our iman. Iman, that is wajib, and try to complete that iman. And of course work on iman or kamal al-mustahab. Inshallah we'll end with that much since it's almost the time for Maghrib. So if anyone has any questions. Perhaps I'll mention one more benefit. How can we love our brothers and sisters in Islam? We should love through actions. Right? So we don't want to just say on our tongue, I love my brothers. Love with the money. Love with your actions. Love with your care. There's narration here, Ibn Umar, he mentions, Allah ta'ala anhuma, لَقَدْ أَتَى عَلَيْنَا زَمَانٍ. A time period used to be with us, or like a period of time used to be amongst us. And he says that أَحَقُّ بِدِنَارٍ, that one of us would see أَحَقَّ بِدِنَارِهِ وَدِرْهَمِهِ. A person would see that the most deserving his dinar and dirham would be أخيه Muslim, his brother who's Muslim. والآن, he said, ثُمَّ الآن, nowadays, he said, we see the رأينا that we, each one of us, أحب إلى أحدنا, the most beloved thing to us, or الدنيا أحب إلى أحدنا من أخيه Muslim. The dunya is more beloved to us than our brothers. That's narrations of Shaykh Ibn authenticated in Sahih Adab Mufrad. And so we see that even Umar testified to that problem, right? At one point, you dinar dirham, you go to your brother as far as loving the sake of Allah. You help them. You have money, pay for them, or if you can, or you give them if they need. And now dunya, subhanAllah. So this is one thing we can also see, that we can try to love our brothers, but using our actions. Love by concern. Call them. You visit them. We know the hadith about the tazawur. Man tazawwara lillah, for Allah's sake. Wajabat mahabbati lil-mutazawirina fi. You visit some for Allah's sake. That's part of it. Not even a phone call. So where have you been? I missed you. You haven't seen you. Just from love. Sake of Allah. Nothing else. We didn't call you because you own money. Calling because I didn't see you in Durus. I didn't see you here. I didn't see you in Masjid. See, these are things that are actions. Because anyone can say I love someone, but then what's the proof? Right? And so this is why this is also benefiting, that we don't want it to become the end that all our dunya is more beloved to us than our brothers. And then we have to part way with our dunya and the brother, we part with the brother. That's not the way of Sunnah. So I'll end with this much. If anyone has any question or something you want to benefit us with. Yes?
For the sacrifice on the Eid, what's the benefits for the sacrifice? If you're sacrificing a lamb.
Sacrifice are different types in Eid. You can sacrifice. It could be a cow. It could be a lamb. Camel even. All this is from the asl. It's ibadah. It's another, right? This is slaughter. صَلِّ رَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ. It's ibadah. And from this also we see that it's something that ulama debate if it's an obligation or not. Correct opinion of Allah Alam is that it's mustahab. It's mustahab for the one who's able. The one who's not able, doing no sin. But it's recommended because of Sunnah of Rasulullah, but also in following the example of the people who are doing Hajj. An example of Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was commanded by Allah to slaughter Ismail, but Allah substituted for him with a kabash, with a big kind of ram. This is from this action. And this action of sincerely slaughter for Allah's sake is many benefits. And that is the Tawheed. The blood and the wealth of blood and the skin or the meat of that animal doesn't reach Allah. The taqwa of Allah reaches Him. So when we do this action, it's ibadah. And we know this is something that not oftentimes we're not slaughtering. So when you do it for Allah's sake, it's ibadah. The second benefit that you benefit yourself with the meat, the family, and the fuqara. فَأَطْعِمُوا الْبَائِسُ الْفَقِيرِ. You give to the poor and needy. And there are many other benefits in there, but it's a great ibadah in the Muslim Hajj. In Hajj season, and in this case, Eid Adha. And that's why it's called Eid Adha. Udhiyah. So from the purpose of this Eid, and we see it's a great ibadah for the one who's able to do it. Of course, someone picks what he's able to do, right? In Sharia-wise, there's different rules in terms of which you can slaughter. If you want to slaughter this, you slaughter that. If you're sharing or doing separate, of course, there's different rules. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's a hadith I came across in the Sirah of Ibn Kathir, and he mentioned the story of Al-Ashari. Are you familiar with it?
Allah Alam.
There was a man who came to Mecca and he was oppressed by Mujahid. And he took, I'm not sure what it was, maybe a cloak, a garment, or perhaps was I don't remember what it was anyways. But then he cried out to the people, who can help me? And there's some of the mushrikeen who said, who pointed towards Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to cause trouble between the two. Do you recall the hadith?
Yeah, something like this I remember reading something similar, but we have to check if this is even Sahih or not, yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, well, I was going to ask you if you're familiar with it, that's it.
No, we'll look into it, and inshallah, perhaps we'll present what its narration is, and if it's authentic, and what is the meaning.
Inshallah, I can send it to you.
Yeah, so tomorrow maybe we'll do it in a Sirah lesson, we can go over, I can mention that, yeah, inshallah.
About the story that you said with Anas ibn Malik, the food that the Prophet ﷺ returned, I heard that he returned it because there was garlic in it.
This is the hadith Abu Ayyub. This one, yeah, it's garlic. Another hadith is also the same thing because he doesn't eat it. Because he said, I converse with the malaika, those whom you don't converse with. So nonetheless, he left Allah for a natural cause, preference. He just didn't. It's not haram, but he didn't want it. So Abu Ayyub immediately said, I don't want either. And this is from the higher level of the iman they have in love of Rasulullah. So the message that's type, because that type of aada he had is not sunnah. From ibadah, it's a sunnah aada. Rasulullah liked honey, he liked the cold water, he didn't like the dab, for example, or this cake that which is garlic. It doesn't mean if you eat garlic and eat honey that you're going against the sunnah. But you see Sahaba, how they understood it, we want to be just like him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We love him so much. His preferences are better than ours. And so that's a high level that they had, and it's some ways rewarded for that. If someone follows Rasulullah in anything with the intention of being like him, it's rewarded. But we don't say it's a sunnah of ibadah, like you have to everybody eating honey. But we see that if you like honey and you eat it because Rasulullah made it, it's 2 in 1. Right, so that's what it is, yeah. But there was a reason for why he returned it. That's the reason why he returned it was this reason, and he still didn't take it, yeah. Asl Iman is the basic Iman someone has and belief in the 6 pillars, and things that somebody will become. When you're Muslim, you have 6 pillars, then you have some Iman. Right? And you have Iman, for example, in Allah, and all that it entails, the 6 pillars. That's the Asl Iman. So someone cannot be called a believer or a Muslim. Like in a Muslim, we say 5 pillars. Also in the Shahadatain. Someone's a mu'min, we say the basic, we say 6 pillars. Asl Iman. But then with that, it also comes with above. He starts to go higher than that, but can come towards the wajibat, right? The wajib, iman al-wajib, and try to make command of that. So that's what I talk about. They talk about in this way. So obviously our goal is always to increase our iman. Once we're a Muslim, we have with us mutlaq al-iman, that no one can take us out of the basic of iman. But our goal is to increase to different a'mal and sifat al-mu'min to reach, obviously start with the wajibat, to the mustahabbat. So it would be silly for someone who is internally, he doesn't prefer Allah's Messenger over anyone else, but he's trying to do then extra things like removing things from the street. And this is start with that which is must on you. That a believer must not have. Examples, amana. A believer should have trustworthiness and honesty. One hadith said, "La iman liman la amana lahu." He has no iman, the one who doesn't have amana. So when you hear this kind of word, it means you have to have it. So as a Muslim believer, when we hear it, it's like, okay, I have to have this. So obviously then you keep going up, and that's why increasing our iman is one of the goals of our life, right? To be true believers, inshallah.
So the difference between Kamal Iman al-Wajib and Iman al-Mutlaq is that, so basically, like if we use garlic as an example, so someone that goes out of his way not to eat, he likes garlic, but he goes out of his way not to eat it because he loves the Prophet ﷺ. So but then someone else who is also a righteous person, but he likes to eat garlic, so would that mean that they're different in the sense that someone has Iman al-Mutlaq and the other one has Kamal Iman?
No, because Iman Mutlaq and Iman Kamal Iman Wajib, these are referring to things that somebody has to have. The wajibat awalan, Allah says that believer must have to be a believer. So asl is fi'l wajibat wa tark muharramat. And then above that is the sifat of the believer and the mustahabbat of the deen. So there is not mustahab, for example, someone to stay away from garlic, unless, of course, we know it's raw garlic, come to the masjid, that's a hadith, that's a chapter on it. But just saying someone doesn't like the preference is garlic. There's nothing in Iman that says that the believers, they like the garlic, they don't like the garlic, like that. So that's different, this is preference. But if someone loved it, for Allah's sake, I mean, the Rasul loved it, I love it, or I mean, if someone didn't like it, I don't like it, and this is rewarded, majur, because you're doing out of love for Rasul. So, but the asl of ulama say following Rasul means follow him in the way he did his ibadat, following his commands, staying with his prohibitions, believing everything he says, and only worshipping Allah the way he worshipped. So it's different. Right? So this is a little bit different than the subject of Iman al-Wajib and Iman al-Mutlaq. This is like a little bit more deep, like side thing, like some preferences. But the person should always try to be increasing the Iman. This is the thing that we're looking for. And we start off with the things that we have to have, and we make our way to things that are recommended. And of course, the believer is one who's always improving. Always improving. Inshallah, we'll end with this much. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.